On this Monday night, aid arrives in Indonesia. Recovery efforts are underway. So why are there warnings that danger still lurks? Market meltdown. U.S. stocks are on track for the worst December since the Great Depression. President Trump is playing the blame game. Is he right to say this isn't his fault?
也发表了声明，对加拿大表示支持。
And this is getting worse. China responds to criticism about holding two Canadians. Where does this standoff head next? This is The National. Two days after a tsunami crashed onto the shores of Indonesia, the number of dead has climbed to at least 373. The number of injured, more than 1,400. Soldiers and volunteers are combing beaches and wrecked buildings, searching for survivors, but mostly finding more bodies. These women carefully gathering rice that was scattered when their homes were destroyed. Things are desperate, and they could get worse. Today, authorities confirmed the tsunami was caused by volcanic activity between the coastlines of western Java and southern Sumatra, and there are fears it could happen again. The CBC's Chris O'Neill-Yates has been chasing down the details of this disaster and the images that drive home that the hardship many now face.
Hope is all many have left. Hope of finding the name of a loved one on the list of patients at this clinic. Overwhelmed, hospitals struggle to cope as the number of dead and injured mounts. People are trying to salvage what little they can despite the risks. People like shop owner Noor Hassan. I do feel scared coming back, he says, but I had to take what I can. I can't get the images of the huge waves out of my head. Indonesian President Joko Widodo visited the worst affected area on the west coast of Java. In future, the Meteorology, Climatology, and Geophysics Agency will provide detection equipment that can give a warning to people, he says. In this case, unlike most other tsunamis, there was no earthquake, no trembling ground as warning. There are systems that can alert people to unusual waves in this kind of event, says geoscientist Dougal Jerram.
The problem we have is that it won't give people that much of a warning, but in any situation, even a few tens of seconds warning might get some people to higher ground and might reduce the fatalities.
In tsunami-prone Indonesia, warnings alone won't save lives, says this Canadian disaster relief specialist.
There has to be a determined effort to move heavily populated areas, if possible, away from the waterfront, from the ocean, because that's where most of this destruction happens.
Indonesian officials say the danger has not yet passed. The Anak Krakatau is still erupting and could possibly trigger another tsunami. In the coming days, they're telling people to stay away from coastal areas. Chris O'Neill-Yates, CBC News, Vancouver.
So a volcanic eruption causes a tsunami in Asia, and today the largest active volcano in Europe started to stir, this one in Italy. The Mount Etna Observatory says lava and ash are spewing from a new fracture, the first flank eruption in more than a decade. There were 130 tremors by midday in Sicily, the most powerful one registering about a magnitude 4. No reports of injuries, but the ash was thick enough to temporarily close the airspace around Etna. A worry of a different kind is the worsening relationship between China and Canada. It's been 2 weeks since China detained two Canadians, a move Ottawa has called arbitrary. Today, Beijing threw those words right back at this country, labeling Canada's arrest of a Huawei executive as an arbitrary detention and a mistake. Olivia Stefanovich dips into the diplomatic tensions.
In its strongest words yet,
至于你说到英国和欧盟也
China rejects calls for the release of two Canadians, instead suggesting the Western allies are hypocrites for expressing concerns over the detention of former diplomat Michael Kovrig and businessman Michael Spavor, but not speaking out against the arrest of Huawei's chief financial officer Meng Wanzhou.
This conflict has evolved into something not of Canada versus China, but of China versus the West, which is not in China's favor.
France became the latest country today, joining the US, UK, Germany, and EU, expressing concern over Kovrig and Spavor's detainment. speaking from Mali over the weekend, the Prime Minister continued to call for their release.
Canadians, quite frankly, and people around the world are extremely disturbed by the Chinese actions.
But those words have gone unanswered. The Canadian Chinese language broadcaster Fairchild TV quoted sources as saying Chinese officials have stepped up their interrogation efforts against Kovrig and Spaver in the hopes that the two will plead guilty to endangering national security. The Prime Minister has so far resisted calling the Chinese president, something this former Canadian diplomat says is the next step.
And he will have to essentially say, we demand that you release these two gentlemen immediately, and then there has to be a degree of or else.
If that doesn't work, he says Canada can withdraw its ambassador from Beijing back to Ottawa in protest, or even put sanctions on Chinese diplomats in Canada.
All of these actions would lead to a severe deterioration of relations between Canada and China.
It's a delicate balancing act that Canadian officials say they will work over the holidays to try and resolve. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Toronto.
And it's not just government speaking out today. Newspapers of record in both the U.S. and China published scathing editorials. The New York Times editorial board came to Canada's defense and says Beijing is using hostage-taking to resolve economic and diplomatic disputes. It condemns China for being an aggressive rising power known to flout the rule of law and disregard human rights. An admittedly opposing perspective by the influential state-backed Chinese tabloid The Global Times. It vows that Canada will pay for its bad behavior, and attempts to resolve a conflict with China by roping in its allies will never work. Now, December is on track to be the worst month for U.S. stock markets in a very long time. Some confusing messages from the White House have not helped. As Ron Charles reports from Washington tonight, it all comes as the president grapples with a government shutdown.
The night before Christmas, and the White House looks like not much is stirring. But it's been a day of continued, unrelenting chaos. A government partially shut down, markets tanking, and the president furiously tweeting after canceling his Christmas holiday during the latest crisis. Trump tweeted at Democratic senators who refused to fund his border wall, "I am all alone, poor me, in the White House, waiting for the Democrats to come back and make a deal on desperately needed border security." U.S. lawmakers are still not close to providing funding for Trump's border wall and breaking the spending bill impasse that led to the shutdown.
But now, since it's become a political issue, both ways, why, nobody's given in. But they will. We'll get past this.
There was chaos here, too. The opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange may have been rung by dancers from the fairy tale ballet, The Nutcracker, but the shortened trading day was a nightmare before Christmas. The 653-point drop adding to the worst month since the 2008 financial crisis and adding to the ire of a president fixated by the stock market. In another tweet today, Trump blamed the market rout on the Federal Reserve for raising interest rates. The only problem our economy has is the Fed. The Fed is like a powerful golfer who can't score because he has no touch. He can't putt. Then there was the strange statement Trump's Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin put out, explaining the nation's 6 largest banks have confirmed they have ample liquidity. That may have spooked the markets, commentators say, because it's usually the kind of thing you say in a faltering economy to reassure people that banks have enough cash. Ron Charles, CBC News, Washington.
One of the casualties of the U.S. shutdown came back to life today. The National Christmas Tree reopened to the public after the site was closed on Friday night. The U.S. Park Service says support from its charitable foundation allowed the gate to be unlocked. It cost just under $1,500 each day to keep the site open. Now, the mystery of who was flying a drone over Gatwick Airport is getting a bit thornier. A British couple questioned and released in the course of the investigation into all that disruption now says they feel violated. They insist the media outed and vilified them. And as Briar Stewart reports, they're fighting back.
We are deeply distressed.
The couple spoke about their ordeal in a prepared statement delivered to Sky News outside of their home. a home that had been searched by police after they were suspected of flying drones over the Gatwick airport. Several media outlets identified the couple. Their names and photos were plastered on the front page of papers. The Daily Mail asked, "Are these the morons who ruined Christmas?" Evidently not, because after being arrested by police on Friday, they were released yesterday without charges.
The way we were initially perceived was disgusting, although those that knew us didn't doubt us for a second.
This media lawyer says the couple has a case if they choose to file a lawsuit.
It's going to be, 75 to 125,000, I would think.
He says British law changed after a case was brought forward by the singer Cliff Richard. The BBC had reported that he was under investigation for historical child sexual assault claims, but charges were never laid. The court awarded him the equivalent of 360,000 Canadian dollars.
So Cliff Richard took a case, and that fundamentally changed the law so that we now have effectively secret arrests, and you can be arrested but your name is not released to the public and may not be published. It's a breach of privacy.
There's no doubt that the couple's names and images have now been seen around the world, but this journalist and media law consultant says if there is a blanket ban on identifying people who have been arrested, it hurts the freedom of the press.
That could be very problematic. I mean, we should always be, in certain situations, able to say, the police have arrested this person, they're holding them, what's going on?
But this couple feels their lives have been turned upside down. They're asking for privacy now. As for investigators, they insist they aren't back at square one and say they're continuing to look for other suspects. Briar Stewart, CBC News, London.
Now, Australia is one country vowing 2019 will be the year of a drone safety crackdown. It's installing monitoring equipment at airports starting next month. Those will allow authorities to identify the serial number of drones and the location of their controllers. Now, staring skyward isn't just a preoccupation of worried authorities. On this, of all nights, checking the sky is a matter of tradition, which is why Canadian astronaut David Saint-Jacques tweeted from the space station that he's taken on an extra job, helping NORAD track Santa. According to his new labor contract, he's got the day off tomorrow for the holiday, but Catherine Cullen had a good question about that. How do you spend downtime when you're way up there?
I looked out the window and this little blue crescent starting to get brighter and brighter, and I realized, wow, this is actually the curve of the Earth.
Talk about a job with cool perks. But it isn't all zero-gravity fun and games. Back down on Earth, Justin Trudeau's cabinet has approved a new astronaut labor contract, one sweeter than the previous version. On terra firma, astronauts are entitled to 11 statutory holidays. Even in space, there are days off. But what can you do with your downtime in cramped quarters like this? As Chris Hadfield has demonstrated, perhaps you could take a nap. Maybe have a snack.
Very good.
Or even work on your personal hygiene.
That one got away. Perfect.
I mean, does the ISS even have a Netflix account? Actually, according to former space station resident Julie Payette, downtime in space isn't always so different from Earth.
When you have a free time, you can read a book, you can watch a movie on the computer, you can watch a program uplinked from the ground. But most of us, I must say, just drift to a window and look at the magnificent spectacle we have at our feet, planet Earth. We take pictures and we get memories for a lifetime.
Saint-Jacques will have Christmas Day off, and on the ISS, they have been known to celebrate. Though on Boxing Day, it's back to work.
Also in the new labor deal, up to $3,000 in case you suddenly need to buy a gift for a foreign dignitary, up to $6,500 in relocation allowance, although it turns out that moving to outer space isn't eligible. And in case you were wondering, astronauts on the space station are not eligible for overtime.
Perhaps the best perk of all is sharing the experience with the ones you love. The Canadian government paid for Saint-Jacques' family to join him for the launch in Kazakhstan.
We're thrilled, and the kids were thrilled to see the rocket go.
And liftoff.
An upside to a job unlike any other. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa, Earth.
Christmas Eve has a special place in the calendar of space. 50 years ago tonight, American astronaut Bill Anders took one of the most famous photographs in history. Have a listen and a look through the lens.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And from the crew of Apollo 8, we close with good night, good luck, a Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you on the good earth.
Here are some other stories we're following tonight, beginning with the latest on the power outage in BC 5 days after that massive windstorm.
There's basically trees down everywhere and wires all over the road, so we're not too hopeful for power back on by tomorrow. There'll be a lot of stuff cooked in the wood stove or on camp stoves and barbecues, and another neighbor has a propane oven, so I think the turkey's going there, and so it's all, the dinner's getting cooked in many different places, but it'll be all right. We'll have candles going, and we got food and booze. I mean, really, it's good.
Okay, at least Jenny Brookelman is staying positive, and she's not the only one spending Christmas in the dark. Despite 800 people working around the clock, brought in from as far away as the East Coast, BC Hydro says thousands on Vancouver Island and the southern Gulf Islands will still be without power tomorrow. And if you're planning a Christmas dinner, you might be happy to know that romaine lettuce is now safe to eat again. Canada's Public Health Agency declared the E. coli outbreak over this afternoon. There have been no new cases here since mid-November. 29 people got sick eating tainted lettuce this fall. Just ahead, David Common goes behind the scenes at the Nutcracker, an annual Christmas spectacle that's all about precision and discipline. At least that's what the audience sees.
The people that tend to get whacked by the branches tend to be some of the performers in the battle, and there's square steel underneath the sort of fur dressing, so they can give you a good bark on the shins.
What's wrong with this picture? Sure, the halls are all decked with boughs of holly. The carols come at you from all sides. But St. Nick, he's nowhere, banished from the aisles of this department store. His day job canceled at this mall, his hours cut way back. And will you find a ho 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 at this company's Christmas party? No, no, no. Why not?
No money.
So what happened to the Christmas spirit?
I love Christmas, and it's always been a very big part of my life, and I always wanted people in Bay Center to feel that way too. We all enjoyed it. We always had fun, and yeah, I feel like a real cheapskate.
Santas say it isn't so.
It is kind of tough that Santas are slowly dying in a way through cutbacks.
The man in red, a victim of businesses in the red. Brian Wenham is Winnipeg's biggest Santa supplier. His bookings are down by almost a half. All because companies are less profitable, mind you.
Merry Christmas!
Not because he's any less popular.
Hello, how are you? Hello.
And frankly, most companies are rather, well, embarrassed about the lack of Santas. Sure, in private, they'll tell you why they've cut back, but not if there's a camera around. And a few businesses, which have always had Santas, now have elaborate explanations.
I don't know if I should be saying this on TV, but pretty tough to have a Santa Claus in our store and one in the mall and then one at Eaton's and one in the next mall and that sort of thing. How do you explain that to kids?
Well, I don't know.
Still, even now, there's goodwill toward store managers.
Maybe times will get better
and then there'll be more Santas out there. And
In the meantime, Pacesetter Clothing is making its employees red Christmas stockings.
All right, check out these two characters on either side of the cannon. They are Toronto Maple Leaf stars Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, guest starring as cannon dolls, clearly getting into it, just like the audience. The Nutcracker is a beloved holiday classic, and every year the National Ballet of Canada mounts this intricate spectacle. Make no mistake, it's a behemoth of a show. Dancers and set pieces working in clockwork precision, or at least that's what it seems like to us. On this Christmas Eve, David Common once again takes us behind the scenes of the Nutcracker.
Magnificent as it seems, midway through the first act, there's a problem.
Oh, Charlie.
Here, a mustache has come unglued, an urgent fix for one of the key performers seconds before he's set to return to the stage. The audience, of course, has no idea, none, in fact, of what happens backstage. But we have unprecedented access. Watching as dancers throw snowballs from off stage. As rollerblading bears stand by in the wings. The youngest performers are just 6 years old, now preparing for their first ever grand event. This is make or break for the National Ballet, the annual ritual that helps pay for the rest of the year. It attracts huge audiences every December, including this one. The first full dress rehearsal with what will be a full house. As that audience begins to take their seats, backstage, the show is in its final preparations.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your onstage call. Onstage, please, for the top of Act 1.
For the man who's helped it run for decades, the stakes are still high.
As soon as the orchestra starts tuning, we're on an unforgiving path. It's at that point that I can't change my mind and leave.
That's the point of no return.
It kind of is, yeah.
A month before showtime, the enormous effort begins with massive sets moved out of storage. 9 trailers full.
This is yours. Oh, great. There. How is that when you put your arms up? Oh, we should try your tiara too. Okay. Charlie?
Yeah. Meanwhile, Sugar Plum fairies get fitted for costumes, and rehearsals begin. The National Ballet's own may be experienced at the Nutcracker, but with need for such a large cast, most of the performers come from outside the company, many of them just kids. They'll rehearse together with the orchestra fewer than a handful of times before facing a paying audience a grueling 26 times. And showtime is just moments away. It may not get the glory, but the 2 dancers stuffed inside this horse certainly have one of the most challenging parts. One of them can't see, so both are led gingerly onto the stage. When the horse's part is complete, the heavy costume is hung, and the dancers slip out, rushing to their next role. Watch out, a big move is about to happen. It takes 10 people to move out this Christmas tree set. On stage, the decorated branches swing, a movement rode from behind by a stagehand. But all that swinging is a hazard one dancers try to avoid.
The people that tend to get whacked by the branches tend to be some of the performers in the battle, and there's square steel underneath the sort of fur dressing, so they can give you a good bark in the shins.
The performers may be in peak physical shape, but the Nutcracker is an exhausting performance. Poised and precise ballerinas on stage step off briefly to recover and rehydrate. As the end of the snow scene nears, stage director Jeff Morris is still calling the shots.
It's magic, absolutely. It's so satisfying, and when you hear the applause at the end of every performance, you know that there are a lot of people out here who maybe it's their first time in this terrific theater, maybe it's their first time seeing a ballet, and that applause is fantastic.
Applause for an act that seems serene and precise, belying the organized chaos just behind the performance. David Common, CBC News, Toronto.
Always a bit of chaos behind the scenes. Prince Harry gave royal watchers plenty to celebrate this year. When we come back, how his life has been shaped growing up in the shadow of Diana.
He has found a way of loving, of being loved, of having hope for his future, of knowing that he has his responsibilities and that he can make a difference, and that he can just be himself.
This is me. And this is me shopping. Oh, I know, it doesn't look like I'm shopping in the same way that, say, this does. This is shopping on the internet. If you don't believe the online experience can possibly approach the real thing, well then, you haven't visited the Internet Mall of America.
They've actually created this site so that it's actually like a mall. There are floors, escalators, and look down here. This is just like every women's washroom I've ever been in. You wait forever.
I've now joined the increasing numbers of internet shoppers, gift givers like Catherine Gage, who selects, ships, and delivers the chosen items, all without ever leaving her desk.
The selection is all there. For the most part, you can see things the same as you would in a store, except you don't have to put up with crowds and people pushing and shoving.
Who else shops this way? Recent studies suggest that of the 50 million computer users, about 4 million, roughly 1 in 12, will take time to shop around. Catherine Gage isn't typical. Most online shoppers are men, specifically men between the ages of 25 and 55. That may have something to do with the results of a recent British study suggesting men don't cope very well when shopping in the real world.
And in many cases, women, when shopping, didn't even register any stress at all, whereas men had heart rate increases and blood pressure increases and everything else. Clearly, the shopping experience out in the malls is a stressful experience for men.
There we go.
Graham Bennett, who heads up a leading computer publication, points out as interesting as how they shop is when.
Recent statistics said that over 50% of online shopping is done after 9 p.m. in the evening.
In other words, after the real mall is closed. I can explore the shops of the online mall 24 hours a day. I can check out the Vatican gift store in Rome, or I can step into the virtual dressing room at Eddie Bauer.
Maybe you don't like the tucked in look, you can have it hanging out if you want.
Over at the real Eddie Bauer, where they've been offering shopping by catalog for years, they view their online store as a kind of electronic catalog.
To be able to build your outfit, to see what it looks like, to see what the coordination is, and then to virtually call us toll-free and have us ship it to them.
Eddie Bauer reports its online business is doing better than the company expected, but doesn't expect to abandon its real stores.
They really like to come in here and touch and feel.
I have no idea what I want or if I'll like something until I actually see it or try it on or smell it, or depending on what it is.
Companies are trying to bridge the technology gap. At Land's End, you can build a model based on your own personal body type.
Cindy Crawford.
And the technology is getting closer to giving consumers a better look at what it is they're buying.
Take a look at the dashboard close up if you wish. And it's a very interesting capability that at this point could be applied to virtually any product that you wanted to get a sense of what does it look like from this side and that side. Highly approachable for fashion and jewelry and a lot of other things where the devil is in the details.
Speaking of jewelry, back in the Internet Mall of America,
You know, this is the equivalent of shopping hell.
2018 has been an epic year for Prince Harry, and by all appearances filled with joy, from his spring wedding to Meghan Markle to their tour of the South Pacific and his annual Invictus Games, which have become a symbol of optimism for wounded vets. Now he's an expectant father. For many, though, he will always be the little boy whose mom died when he was only 12, a loss that has forever shaped his life. But anyone who knows grief knows that to really mourn someone, you sometimes have to carry on what they started. And Prince Harry has said he's doing just that. He's found a life that is his own, but he will always be shaped in the shadow of Diana.
7, 8, 9, 10, keep going. 11.
When you know that years ago, some declared your life all but over, your death months away,
6, 7,
and you showed them you could survive anyway, then you've earned a smile as broad as Ade's.
really good.
How does it feel when you do that?
Very good.
Yeah?
Very good. It makes me stronger. I love it.
Twist your body.
Hers is a life full of surprises. The worst collapsing years ago, learning she had HIV, that infection was coursing through her brain. The best, that doctors would save her,
That is Prince Harry.
and she'd live to make a prince of a friend.
He was kissing me and hugging me.
He's been back again and again to see Ade and the others at the Mildmay Clinic for those struggling with HIV.
To bring it out to the public eye, I think that's really quite key for him.
Kerry Reeves-Knipp has been by his side every time.
One of the patients that I took him to was very ill, and he was quite shocked to see somebody that ill in this day and age with HIV in this country.
These encounters have history. Prince Harry in the same place, in the same way as his mother. Diana started coming here in the late 80s. Think of it, there she was clutching the hands of the very ill at a time when fear was so acute, people were throwing bricks through the Mildmay windows.
People were losing their jobs.
Julian Labastide was a nurse here.
People were having AIDS scribbled on their doors with like graffiti if people noticed that they looked unwell.
For Diana to be so loving with the likes of this man, Martin, whose own family wanted nothing to do with him, who would ship back his letters with return to sender, is really something.
She touched him, she kissed him, and again, it just exploded across the world.
When this photograph went public in the media, his mother came to visit Martin and they reconciled.
It was just in time. Martin died 2 weeks later. Diana is everywhere here. And now that it's her son who shows up, it's the spirit of her he sometimes seems to look for.
He loves to hear the stories of her visits here.
Carrie tells of a miraculous woman who had met Diana as an ill child but survived. Harry had questions for her.
She said to Prince Harry, I remember cuddling up to her on her lap and how soft and comfortable it was. And he said, I remember that well.
And of course he would. His memories are the frozen ones of a child, just 12 with those clenched fists walking behind the casket of his mother. For that personal loss to be so public has, as he has now said so forcefully, marked him.
When you're that young and something like that happens to you, I think it's lodged in your heart and your head, and it stays there for a very, very long time. At that point, I was still, I wasn't there. I was still in shock.
The overwhelming displays of public sorrow have been gone for decades now. But the effect of those surreal moments has stayed.
On one level, I felt furious that so many people were crying and screaming and yelling about someone they didn't know.
Julia Samuel has a long relationship with both grief and the royals.
On another level, it felt completely appropriate that everybody did, because that's what we were all feeling.
She was a friend of Diana's, is close to her sons. She's also a psychotherapist who's written extensively on grief's grip in Grief Works.
Grief is messy and it's chaotic and it feels like the weather, and it comes and hits you when you don't expect it.
By his own admission, it's hit Harry especially hard. The lashing out, acting out of his teens and 20s was, it seems, his way of not dealing with it. On the princes, Samuel is quite private, but she cannot hide her pride that their decision to eventually be open about their loss has made a difference for the entire country.
They have shifted the dial in our understanding of the importance of mental health and seeking support.
What does that actually look like?
More people have been ringing all the helplines. More people have been seeking support, particularly young men. Between them, they have really helped save people's lives.
We're already working with our partner charities and thousands of people to change the way that we think about mental health.
This seems one of Samuel's larger lessons about grief, that opening up is freeing. She sees what others do, that just as the public were invested in Harry's grief, they seem to now be rooting for his happiness.
He has found a way of loving, of being loved, of having hope for his future, of knowing that he has his responsibilities and that he can make a difference, and that he can just be himself. And I think that's what connects everybody to him, that he feels so genuine, and Diana was the same way.
My mother campaigned to draw attention to the horrific and indiscriminate impact of landmines.
And what mattered to her, clearly now, by design or default, is what matters to him. Almost all the charities he's thrown himself into reflect her causes too. Those who knew her say Diana understood perfectly exactly the measure of her power, her ability to drag the world's media by the camera lenses towards the people and the causes she found important, draw the light, and then divert it. That is a lesson that stuck. And that's the secret sauce behind some of the wedding plans. Instead of gifts, the couple wants donations for specific charities, like Chiva, dedicated to kids living with HIV and the stigma it brings.
Does anyone want a break?
The volunteers of this tiny group had no idea this was coming, and does it ever matter?
The fact that there will be children brought out of isolation because of possible funds that have come from the wedding just opens up someone's world in an incredible way that I wish I would have been able to do when I was a lot younger.
This is personal. Mercy Naglube was born with HIV, wasn't told until she was a teen, and even then was advised to keep it quiet.
Don't tell anybody because it's not going to be accepted in society. You know, it was just like, okay, like, why are you telling me this? What do I do with the information if I'm not supposed to tell anyone? Do I just like sit with it? I don't know. And yeah, so I just didn't talk about it.
So she lived two lives, hanging out with university friends who knew nothing about it. Then on the weekends, volunteering with kids with HIV far away. The worlds didn't meet, and it worked until she got a call.
So this is the Diana's Legacy Award. So it has
She'd won the Diana Award for young people who step up, an honor, but to accept, she'd have to open up. They couldn't just give it to you, right? It meant you making a big decision. So what did you have to decide?
Yeah, I thought, actually, this is my real chance to stand up and make some noise, I suppose. And it's a conversation that I'd been having over the past, few months leading up to that, but hadn't quite imagined what the outcome would be like. And so, yeah, I decided that I was going to fully come out, and tell everyone. Yeah, so they work on the anti-bullying side of things.
Being open changed everything. It's the same type of discovery Prince Harry made for himself. She admits she didn't know much about him before, but now there is pride in that voice.
He'd recently done like a HIV test in the UK, which was groundbreaking as well, like a member of the royal family just strutting into a hospital and getting a HIV test, like insane.
Looking back, what does she think of all that time she was holding her hard secret close?
I don't know if it was worth living all that time in isolation and just not being able to talk about something, and just sort of being able to step into who I really am and be comfortable with that.
Stepping out of the shadows, stepping into the full glow seems to be much of what Diana and now her son have done for themselves first and for others along the way. And Prince Harry seems acutely aware it's work unfinished. Back at the Mildmay HIV clinic, there is a subtlety it would be easy to miss: the simple frosting on the glass. The patients want that because they're still afraid of being spotted in here, of being judged unfairly. It is slow, steady work to chip away at that, but the Prince seems determined.
He actually did say he's got a sell-by day, in a way. He wants to do as much as he can while he's still got the power to, publicise or break down the stigma.
The clock ticks. Prince William's children will soon grow to have their own causes to champion. They'll be the ones drawing the light. So Harry is a prince in a hurry, aware and grateful for all he's found after all he's lost. So looking back at this year, it's a bit hard to fathom everything that happened. The royal wedding, the Olympics, the disasters, so much political news. Good time then for reporters to take stock of what stood out. Up next, Briar Stewart takes us to Thailand. 13 boys stuck in a cave and the world hoping for the best.
I think one of the moments that stuck out was when we went to one of the schools in Mae Sai, and it was where one of the team members went to school. This boy was the one, by the way, who, when rescuers reached the team, he was the only one that spoke English.
Canadians like their beer. Last year we drank 1,960,053,800 liters of the stuff. That's 18.5 gallons on a per capita basis. The beer industry is probably the most competitive business in Canada, and the latest marketing war is none other than the battle of the light beers.
Well, a bunch of truckers got me started on it.
Light beer has a fairly well-defined market. Women who want to stay slim and who don't usually drink beer, and men who want to stay in shape. The physical fitness boom has brought a light beer boom.
Well, I beat it. And after a great game of squash, a regular beer tastes too heavy, so I'm buying a light beer. A cold Tri-Light. It tastes less filling and has 60 calories in a bottle.
Like a lot of Canadian ideas, the light beer trend was imported from the United States. Light beer there has captured a surprising 8% of the market. In Canada, it's off to a slower start, but lighter beer has still managed to grasp about 5%. The beer business here is pretty much split among the big three. Molson's leads the market with 39%, Labatt's has 37%, and Carling O'Keefe sits third with 27%. An increase of 1 or 2 sales points means a lot of money, so when one company introduces a new product, the others are there too.
Labatt's introduces a bright new light.
For Carling O'Keefe anyway, the introduction of its light beer has been something of a marketing disaster. After spending an estimated $1 million promoting High Light, the company changed the name of its beer and has launched it all over again. The Miller Brewing Company in Milwaukee is at least partly responsible for the change. It sells a beer called High Life and had threatened Carling O'Keefe with a lawsuit. Carling O'Keefe acknowledges pressure from Miller but says no, it changed the name to avoid confusion with an American product because American beer tastes too watery. You may think you're getting a light beer when you buy Molson's and Labatt's, but according to government regulations, you're not. There's a difference officially between what's a light beer and what's a regular beer. The two companies may have lowered the calorie count, but the alcohol count is still above government standards. The government has taken Labatt's to court. The company won the first round, and the whole thing will likely be settled in the Supreme Court of Canada. Food and drug regulations say a light beer shall contain not more than 2.5% alcohol by volume. Of the big three, High Light, or Tri-Light as it's now called, is the only one to conform. 60 calories, 2.5% alcohol. An Ontario brewery, Henninger, produces another light beer that also meets the regulations. 75 calories, 2.5%. But a bottle of Molson Light has 120 calories and an alcohol content of 4.5%. Labatt's Special Light has less than 99 calories and a 4% alcohol content. By calling their beers light, the government says Labatt's and Molson's are misleading the beer-drinking public. The two companies say they're not marketing a light beer as such, but a regular beer with a lower calorie count. If the companies lose in court, they have a couple of options. First of all, they could change the name, but that's an expensive proposition after a beer is already out and selling well. Or else they could lower the alcohol content, but that would mean losing that regular beer taste they've been trying so hard to preserve. It's malt that makes beer alcoholic. When you reduce the amount of malt, you lower the alcoholic content, all right, but you also weaken the taste.
It's a good taste, but I still think 50's better beer.
None of the companies will say how much light beer they're selling. Molson says in Ontario it's selling as much as the other three brands put together. Labatt's claims it's selling about as much as Molson's, and Carling O'Keefe just says Tri-Light, High Light, is selling well. In the bars, people say they like light beer, but they don't seem to be drinking it.
Get it, got it, good. Get it, got it, good. Get it, got it. Talking about ways we can elevate. Stepping up, stepping, escalate. Don't try to separate. We'll get together and celebrate. I can do everything.
How good is this?
I can do anything.
We're at the cottage.
You got me.
That's so great. Great, wow.
Get it, got it.
Yay.
Get it, got it, good.
Actor Kevin Spacey was charged today with felony sexual assault. He is accused of forcibly groping an 18-year-old male in a Massachusetts bar in 2016. That news was shortly followed by this.
Of course, some believed everything and have just been waiting with bated breath to hear me confess it all. They're just dying to have me declare that everything said is true and that I got what I deserved.
Spacey released this puzzling video in his first public appearance in more than a year since allegations of sexual assault and misconduct came to light. He seems to be portraying his Frank Underwood character from House of Cards, hinting at a comeback while blurring the lines between the amoral politician he played and his own situation.
If I didn't pay the price for the things we both know I did do, I'm certainly not going to pay the price for the things I didn't do.
Kevin Spacey is due in court on January 7th. And it is already Christmas Day in Bethlehem, where midnight mass was celebrated at the Church of the Nativity. Christians revere the site of the church as the birthplace of Jesus. Outside, visitors from around the world took in the festivities, with 10,000 travelers staying overnight in Bethlehem. It's the biggest Christmas celebration there in years.
How old are you, Coleman? 7, wow. Are you still a believer in Santa? Because 7 is marginal, right?
Okay, that's President Trump and his wife Melania taking calls from children about where Santa Claus is. Well, what should have been a relatively simple photo op went a little off the rails when, yes, he asked a 7-year-old little boy named Coleman whether he still believed in Santa. Don't worry, Coleman did get his answer. NORAD's Santa Tracker says he is right on schedule for his route tonight. Now, CBC journalists see and hear a lot on assignment, and we all tend to keep pretty good notes. Not all those details make it on the air, though. The tyranny of time constraints is always an issue. So we've asked some of our reporters to reflect on a story they covered this year. Briar Stewart was on the scene in Thailand for a global nail-biter.
On this Monday night, an extraordinary rescue operation deep in a cave in northern Thailand.
This story really grabbed everybody's attention because of the way it unfolded. I was back in Vancouver following the news like everybody else. You know, I was thinking, this doesn't look good. Like, if they find these kids, they're probably not going to be alive.
How many of you? 13. Brilliant.
But then they found them. And just the shot of those kids and their coach huddled on the rock, sitting there, you know, essentially waiting to be rescued was just unbelievable.
I am really happy. We are happy too.
I mean, it was an incredible story. And then once the oxygen levels in the cave started dropping, CBC had made the decision to send us. And we got a call about 6 a.m. Saturday morning, and we were on a flight a few hours later. I've covered quite a few major events where you have media from all over the world turn up, but nothing like this. I mean, there were several hundred members of the media there, and by the time we got there, it was all very organized. There was this media center, and it had been raining so much that the media had basically been huddled at a table underneath the tarp, trying to protect all their laptops and camera gear from getting wet. And all around the outside were volunteers. These were volunteers that had come down with their motorbikes, and they were able to ferry members of the media down towards the closest we could get, really, to the entrance of the cave. And that's what they did all day. They ferried media back and forth. And then down there were more volunteers making coffee, volunteers cooking noodles. And it really just showed what a community effort it was. But it was very muddy, right? We had tall rain boots on the whole time, and if you dropped a microphone or a cable, it was gonna get stuck in the mud. And then of course you have just the humidity and everything on top of that, so the challenges of being in that environment. I think one of the moments that stuck out was when we went to one of the schools in Maysai, and it was where one of the team members went to school. This boy was the one, by the way, who, when rescuers reached the team, he was the only one that spoke English. He was a star athlete, and he spoke a number of different languages. And hearing just about what a high achiever he was, and the fact that he was able to communicate with those first few divers when they found the team. They had this whole shrine up to him in the atrium of the school. They had pictures of him, pictures that they had drawn, kind of words of comfort and good wishes. It was just amazing to hear about his personal story.
All the rain they had predicted and feared has arrived, so officials will be watching the water level inside that cave very closely when they start the next and possibly final rescue.
So the third day of the rescue operation, there was a sense that they were going to try to bring out all 5 on the final day. There was this whole process. Once the boys were rescued from the cave, they were taken in an ambulance, driven to a helicopter, put in the helicopter, and then flown to the hospital. So every time you saw that helicopter take off, you knew it was another boy that was out of the cave. So there was really this running tally going throughout the day. People said, okay, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. And by the time the helicopter took off for the 5th time, you knew that the entire team was out of that cave. There was a lot of celebrations where we were down by the volunteers. People were singing and dancing, and I was interviewing this woman who'd been volunteering, translating, and during the middle of the interview, she gave me a hug.
That's so nice. A lot of happy people here tonight in Thailand.
And that really stays with me because, for one, people typically don't hug me in the middle of an interview, but also she was just so happy that that's how, she had wanted to express herself at that moment. And, as a reporter, a lot of the times you cover things where there's not a happy ending, where there is a tragedy and it's sad news. But in this case, it was really interesting to be there when it was a really good outcome.
Obviously, people there are thrilled at the outcome, anxious to see the boys. When might that happen?
Well, some of the parents have already visited the boys in the hospital, and more will soon. This was a story where everybody was rooting for that team and for all the rescuers. And, a reporter or not, you can't help but be touched by that.
Next on The National, on this Christmas Eve, a holiday tradition plays out in the Netherlands, one that honors fallen Canadian soldiers. That's our moment, right after the break.
The Netherlands are liberated by the Canadian soldiers during the war. And so we are so happy that they liberated us. And so there's the connection between Canada and the Netherlands.
Laser tag certainly looks high-tech, and it comes with a price tag to match. Buy all the gadgets, and it's well over $100. You get a device that shoots an infrared beam like the remote control on your TV and a sensor that decides when you've been hit. Kids have been scooping them up faster than they can be brought into Canada, over 100,000 this year. If you've managed to find one for your child, expect somebody else's will want to borrow it.
They want to play it, and they go out and we say no, and they say, oh, please, please, can we play it? It's so cool. And then we let them play it, and they always want to play it.
We see it as probably being the #1 toy, if not this year by the time Christmas rolls around, just because we haven't had the product, definitely for 1987.
The people who sell laser tag don't call it a war toy. They don't even call it a gun. Instead, it's a starlight. But there's no doubt children call it a gun, and they like one of its features, the silencer.
You put the gun, see, this it's loud, listen. And here, there's a switch there, and you put it, you can't hear it. You see, I shoot it and you can't hear it.
The war toys and toys of violence are designed for aggression and destruction, and only for that. They don't allow the child to go beyond that.
At the University of Toronto's Institute for Child Study, they've been watching children play for nearly 20 years. And here they make them check their guns at the door.
We are seeing children displaying a fair amount of anxiety these days about specific kinds of things, such as war.
Children are naturally aggressive, and war toys are one way to relieve that aggression. But at the Institute, they promote alternatives.
And I have watched children who were very angry pound away at a ball of clay and poke it and smash it and so on. So after a while, they became calmer, and the material allowed them to literally reconstruct, to become, instead of a destroyer, a builder.
If the toy is directed as a non-violent play atmosphere, I don't think there is a connotation of violence associated in the child's mind. I think most kids who play laser tag take it as being a futuristic game of tag.
This is the Laser Tag TV show. It's designed to sell the toy while it occupies your child every Saturday morning. There's no doubt children learn from watching these shows, but there's no evidence they learn to be violent. Watching these children, they don't seem to be violent. In fact, they seem so absorbed in the game, they rarely speak to each other. And that's another reason why Jennifer Hardacre is concerned.
Well, yes, children have always played tag, and it's probably a healthy kind of endeavor. For one thing, it exercises the heart and lungs, and it involves a lot of negotiation and a lot of, I touched you, no you didn't, this is home base, no it isn't, and so on, so that always there should be the option of restitution and reconstruction, whereas guns and tanks and so on destroy, and that's the end.
Finland has banned war toys. That doesn't seem likely here in Canada.
On this Christmas Eve, people in the Netherlands are lighting candles at the graves of fallen soldiers from the Second World War. Many of those soldiers, of course, were Canadian. Now, this is a tradition that started decades ago at just one cemetery, but 4 years ago, one man, Dick Jansen, thought his countrymen could do better than that. People are now gathering at hundreds of cemeteries in the Netherlands and across Western Europe, and that is our moment tonight.
It came over in Halton, now I think 28 years ago, with a woman from Finland who lived there. And it was a tradition in Finland to burn for dead people on Christmas Eve by their grave a candle. And I thought, it can be in the whole world. Why only there? So in the year after it, we had more than 250, and last year we had more than 280. So and this year we have more than 325 locations in the Netherlands. The Netherlands are liberated by the Canadian soldiers during the war. And so that's the connection between Canada and the Netherlands. They are heroes. They pay the highest price a man or a woman can pay. And it's for your and my freedom. So we can speak and do what we like to do. And we may not forget them.
So Dick Jansen says that 4 years ago when he thought, we can do better than this, like any movement, he thought he'd get only a modest reaction. He started a Facebook group, figured maybe 20 people would sign up. He says the reaction was so swift and so big that he thought his computer would burn up, and that within that first year they had 150 places, and of course you've heard him now, there are 325 plus places in the Netherlands that are doing this. That is the National on this Christmas Eve. Good night.